Welcome back to Crypto Wonderworld, the only place where you get the truth behind the headlines and the hidden infrastructure behind the next global monetary era. If you hold HBAR or XRP, or you're even remotely serious about understanding where this space is going, make sure you smash that subscribe button, hit the bell so you never miss an update, and let's dive into the digital transformation that no one else is talking about. Let's not waste time. The global financial system as we know it is long overdue for a reset. It's outdated, relying on rails built in the 1970s, bloated with inefficiencies, and completely incompatible with the real-time, AI-driven, tokenized world we're entering. You've got payment delays that can take days, settlement systems that still require paper-based verification, cross-border transfers that cost a fortune and still depend on SWIFT, a messaging network that was never built for 21st century commerce. Meanwhile, digital assets, decentralized identity, tokenized treasuries, smart contracts, and autonomous AI agents are evolving faster than any traditional system can handle. This isn't just a fintech revolution. It's a top-down, full-stack overhaul of the global value transfer network. A once-in-a-century upgrade to the financial grid. And at the core of that transformation sit two assets that are being engineered not for speculation, but for system-wide integration: HBAR and XRP. You see, while mainstream media obsesses over Ethereum upgrades and Bitcoin having cycles, the real power players, central banks, global regulators, institutional finance, are already years ahead. They're building an entirely new infrastructure layer beneath the headlines, and they're not betting on hype-driven assets. They're aligning with systems that are compliant, scalable, carbon-neutral, and built for utility. Enter the XRP ledger and the Hedera Hashgraph network. These two ecosystems weren't designed for internet memes or vaporware projects. They were built to power the next generation of finance, where real-world assets like real estate, commodities, equities, bonds, and yes, even carbon credits and derivatives are all tokenized, traded, and settled instantly. Think about this. The value of global real estate is estimated at over $350 trillion. The bond market? Over $130 trillion. Add commodities, equities, derivatives, and you're pushing into quadrillions in total value. When this value starts moving across digital rails, only a few infrastructures will be able to handle the pressure. XRP is already solving the liquidity problem, eliminating the need for pre-funded accounts and enabling real-time cross-border payment settlement through on-demand liquidity. HBAR is solving the trust layer problem, providing verifiable timestamps, decentralized governance from the likes of Google and IBM, and a network capable of processing over 10,000 TPS with a carbon footprint lower than a single Google search. These are not hype coins. These are not ETH killers. They're financial infrastructure protocols, designed with compliance in mind, engineered for institutional onboarding, and ready to integrate with ISO 20022 messaging standards, CBDC pilots, and real-world tokenization platforms. The world doesn't need another speculative asset. It needs digital infrastructure. It needs a real-time settlement layer. It needs a verifiable trust layer. And that's where XRP and HBAR come in. The race in crypto isn't to be the most viral. It's to be the most vital. And as trillions, and eventually quadrillions, of dollars move into the tokenized future, XRP and HBAR aren't just riding the wave. They're the rails beneath it. XRP and the Internet of Value. Let's cut through the noise. XRP isn't here to be digital gold. It's not chasing headlines or trying to sell you the next store of value narrative. XRP has a much bigger job: to serve as the universal bridge asset for a tokenized world. In a future where every stock, bond, real estate deed, and government treasury becomes a token that can move 24/7, across borders, across networks, and across currencies, you need a single, neutral asset that can settle it all. That's XRP. RippleNet's on-demand liquidity, Odell, already leverages XRP to eliminate the need for pre-funded accounts. Instead of institutions locking up billions of dollars around the world in dormant accounts, XRP enables real-time liquidity sourcing. This is active infrastructure, not a concept on a white paper. Now pair that with the XRP ledger's native features: ISO 20022 compliance, sub-second settlement times, deterministic finality, and ultra-low fees. We're talking about a network that can clear thousands of transactions per second at fractions of a cent, and every transaction burns XRP, making it deflationary by design. But here's what most people miss: XRP's real value isn't just in the tech. It's in the integration. Ripple has spent the last decade forming deep relationships with more than 300 financial institutions in over 70 countries. These aren't superficial partnerships, they're corridor-enabling, payment-settling, enterprise-grade deployments. Ripple is working directly with central banks, payment providers, and regulators to build the pipes that will carry global value. You've got Ripple listed in World Bank documents. Ripple featured in IMF panels. Ripple cited in BIS research. This is not hype. This is strategic positioning at the highest level of the global monetary conversation. Now zoom out. The derivatives market alone is valued at over $600 trillion. The global bond market is worth more than $130 trillion. Cross-border payments add tens of trillions more. What happens when just 1% of that volume begins moving over digital rails that need an instant, neutral bridge asset to connect fragmented liquidity pools? That's not a moonshot. That's inevitable. XRP is already being tested in real-world environments for tokenized settlement. We're talking about wholesale CBDC bridges. We're talking about regulated tokenized securities platforms. And as those pilots transition into production, XRP is perfectly positioned as the invisible layer moving trillions quietly behind the scenes. It's not about speculation. It's about integration, real settlement, real liquidity, real use. And as the tokenization of everything unfolds, XRP won't need to chase the market. It will become the market's invisible foundation. XRP is not trying to compete with fiat. It's not trying to be a global reserve currency. It's something far more powerful, the bridge that connects every currency, every network, and every institution into a single, frictionless system. That's not just the Internet of Value, it's the plumbing that makes it all flow. And XRP? It's already flowing. While XRP handles liquidity and instant settlement, HBAR is solving a different but equally massive problem: trust in a machine-to-machine, real-time economy. You can't build a tokenized global economy without it. Every smart contract, every AI agent, every piece of verifiable data that moves value needs an immutable, auditable, and trusted source of truth. Hedera Hashgraph delivers exactly that. Unlike traditional blockchains that rely on clunky consensus mechanisms and mining-based validations, Hedera operates on a directed acyclic graph (DG) architecture that's not just fast, it's efficient, fair, and nearly impossible to manipulate. But Hedera's greatest weapon? Its governance. The Hedera Governing Council includes the who's who of the enterprise world: Google, IBM, Boeing, LG, Dell, Deutsche Telekom, the London Stock Exchange, and more. These aren't VC-backed pseudonymous validators. These are global titans sitting on the same council table, rotating governance responsibilities, and keeping the network institution-grade and regulator-friendly. The network can process over 10,000 transactions per second, reach finality in under 5 seconds, and uses an energy footprint that's a fraction of a Visa transaction, a critical advantage in a world rapidly shifting to ESG mandates, carbon disclosures, and green finance. HBAR isn't just fast, it's verifiable. Every transaction is time-stamped with cryptographic certainty. It supports decentralized identity frameworks, DID, audit trails for digital assets, and fair ordering to prevent front-running, things that blockchains like Ethereum still struggle with. In other words, HBAR is becoming the digital trust layer for an economy that's about to be fully automated. And this isn't theory. It's already in motion. HBAR is being used in tokenized carbon markets where offsets and credits are verified and traded with trust. Supply chain networks that need to validate origin, movement, and ESG compliance. Healthcare systems where data integrity and compliance can mean the difference between life and death. Micropayment engines that power everything from pay-per-use APIs to streaming-based ad revenue models. Hedera is also being integrated into CBDC testbeds and public-private partnerships exploring real-time regulatory reporting, identity verification, and programmable financial services. XRP may be the liquidity layer, but HBAR? HBAR is the logic and verification layer, the trust framework for everything else. As AI becomes embedded in contracts, as IoT devices trigger real-time value transfers, as DAOs, DeFi, and programmable money take over, trust will no longer be negotiable. It will be the foundational requirement. HBAR makes that possible. So while XRP ensures the money moves, HBAR ensures the system knows what moved, when, how, by whom, and whether it complied with law, logic, and protocol. In a Web3 world run by AI, IoT, and tokenized everything, that's not just useful. That's non-negotiable. The $quadrillion opportunity, tokenized everything. Let's be very clear, this isn't about chasing the next memecoin pump or trying to time the next Bitcoin halving. This is about positioning yourself in front of the largest capital migration in human history. Because what's coming isn't just a bull run, it's a complete financial transformation. We're moving toward an internet of value, where every real-world asset becomes a programmable, tradable, instantly settlable token. Stocks, bonds, real estate, fiat currencies, derivatives, carbon credits, gold, art, intellectual property, it's all going on-chain. And when it does, we're not talking about billions or trillions, we're talking about quadrillions. According to estimates from BlackRock, the World Economic Forum, and the Bank for International Settlements, the tokenization of real-world assets could touch or even exceed $1.40 quadrillion in total addressable market size. That's not a typo. That includes $500t plus in derivatives, $130t plus in bonds, $100t plus in real estate, $90t plus in global equities, trillions more in currencies, commodities, collectibles, and IP rights. Now ask yourself, where is all that value going to live? Where will it be issued? How will it be verified? And most importantly, how will it be settled? Not on proof-of-work chains that take 10 minutes to clear a transaction. Not on gas-heavy networks that can't scale. And definitely not on chains that regulators distrust. This is why the infrastructure layer matters. Because the tokenized economy needs networks that are fast enough to support high-frequency trades, AI-driven settlements, and 24/7 markets. Secure enough to handle trillions in assets without downtime or hacks. Compliant enough to integrate with central banks, asset managers, and global regulators. Interoperable enough to plug into the legacy banking system without friction. When you run that checklist, the shortlist gets real short. And only two names keep coming up again and again: XRP and HBAR. XRP is the global settlement engine, already being used to bridge fiat liquidity across borders in real time. HBAR is the compliance-grade trust layer, already being deployed by governments, enterprises, and ESG platforms to tokenize and track sensitive, high-value assets. We're not saying they're the only assets with utility. We're saying they're the only two with the right utility for the real-world financial system. So when $1 quadrillion in assets begins moving on-chain, and make no mistake, that process has already started, the value will need rails to run on. And XRP and HBAR? They are the rails. This isn't about market cap today. It's about control of value infrastructure tomorrow. And those who see it early, before the floodgates open, will be the ones positioned to ride the largest wealth transfer ever recorded. Positioning before the flippening. Here's what most investors don't get. You don't get rich by following the crowd. You get rich by understanding where the infrastructure is going, not where the hype is. While everyone argues about Layer 2 rollups, NFT royalties, or memecoin seasons, the world's most powerful institutions are quietly integrating XRP and HBAR into their long-term plans. Ripple's expanding post-lawsuit. Hedera is onboarding Fortune 100 use cases like clockwork. The rails are being laid, and when the switch flips, when CBDCs go live, when tokenized treasuries become the norm, when asset managers demand settlement at machine speed, the value won't flow through Ethereum or Bitcoin. It'll flow through the networks built for it. The final message? HBAR and XRP aren't competing. They're complementary pillars of the next financial system. One moves trust. The other moves money. This isn't just bigger than Bitcoin and Ethereum. It's the next monetary era. Welcome to the quadrillion-dollar game.